Oftentimes, I like to revisit games I've played before. Usually a few lucky ones will be replayed almost annually, and of course, this goes for my favorite Sonic games as well. Usually I'll play the adventure games or maybe one of the boost games, but not so much the classics. It's weird because these are great games, but I don't find myself constantly revisiting them with the intent to complete them. Well, except for one. This one I keep coming back to time after time. One that I can't get out of my head for some reason. And that is, of course, Sonic CD. This game was originally released in 1993 for the Sega CD, an add-on for the Genesis, which was less than successful. Seriously, the only two other games on this console that I can think of were Night Trap because of the controversy, and Wild Woody, which is the best worst game of all time.
You got a name, Leadhead? Call me Woody.
But then there's Sonic CD, a game developed by Sega of Japan, while Sega Technical Institute of America worked on Sonic 2. It began as a simple port of Sonic 1, but eventually became its own thing. And initially it didn't reach that many people considering the hardware it was on, but it did have its own PC port, and was eventually playable on the GameCube through Sonic Gems Collection. Otherwise, this was a relatively obscure title that not a whole lot of people got to experience. That was until the legendary Christian Whitehead worked on a fan-made mobile port of the game. Sega caught wind of this, and instead of taking it down, they collaborated to make it official. Thus, Sonic CD was officially re-released with major improvements on the PC, Xbox 360, PlayStation 3, and mobile platforms. However, the Steam port was taken down in 2022 to make room for Sonic Origins, a compilation game of the four main classics. It's super unfortunate that they took away that option, but whatever, I guess. Back in high school when I was playing Sonic games back to back, this one just stuck out to me by a significant amount. It was like none other Sonic game I've played before. The level design, surreal environments, and funky soundtrack really made this game one of a kind. I would draw a lot on paper during classes, and for a while I couldn't not draw something specifically related to Sonic CD. It wasn't even my favorite Sonic game, my pesky love for the adventure games are in the way of that title, but something about it just kinda captures my imagination. And to this day, I still look at this game for the merits it carries artistically. This is easily my favorite classic Sonic game. But it's also a pain in the ass sometimes, and trust me, we'll get to that. So let's dissect this phenomenon and see what it is about Sonic CD that always keeps me coming back. This story is your typical Sonic vs. Eggman affair, but with a bit of a twist. Every year, a small planet creatively named Little Planet will appear over Earth. Sonic goes to visit, but finds that it's been changed and in the process of robotization. Without thinking twice, he goes to see what's up, and dude, I love this animation. This was done by Toei Animation, who are best known for their works on many different anime franchises. Without any dialogue, this animation captures the essence of Sonic in such an incredible way. He eventually finds Little Planet run down by Eggman's badniks, which appear through these generators. However, the generators have stopped working, so in order to prevent any of Eggman's schemes, he must go to the past and destroy the generators there. Successfully doing so will lead to a good future for whatever zone you're in, but failing to do so will leave it as a desolate wasteland. Sonic must go to the past for every level and destroy every generator in order to get the true good ending. Alternatively, you can also collect the time stones through special stages and still get a good ending there. Sonic also encounters a couple of new characters throughout the adventure, those being Amy Rose and Metal Sonic. Amy is here after a fortune reading told her she would meet the hero of her dreams on Little Planet, which she immediately assumes is Sonic. But as soon as she finds him in the second level, Metal Sonic appears out of nowhere and kidnaps the poor girl. So now you gotta rescue a girl on top of thwarting Eggman's plans, which sounds kinda lame when you put it that way. Sonic rescuing a damsel in distress? What is this Mario crap doing here? But it's funny because Sonic does it for a completely different reason than Mario. Well, kind of. Both are good-natured heroes who will do the right thing simply because it's the right thing to do. But for Mario, there's that little bit of validation from Princess Peach he desires. Whether it be a kiss or a piece of cake, Mario is always rewarded for his endeavors. On the other hand, Sonic has zero interest in Amy Rose, a girl who is completely head over heels for the Blue Blur. So Sonic isn't rescuing Amy for any external reasons, but rather just because it's the right thing to do. He's even a little annoyed with her at times, but will still do the right thing despite that. This is also the perfect stepping stone for Amy to become a subversion of the damsel in distress trope, which we see in future games like Sonic Adventure. She really doesn't come into her own until later games, but if it wasn't for Sonic CD, she wouldn't have such a great character arc. Honestly, she's one of my favorite characters in the franchise. She's just wholesome. Metal Sonic is also incredible, but we'll get to him when we get to him. First, we gotta take a look at the levels. There's 3 acts for every zone, the first 2 being traditional levels and the third being a prelude for the bosses. Looking at every zone on its own, I can definitely see where the Sonic 1 inspiration comes from. Palmtree Panic, it's like Green Hill. Collision Chaos, it's like Spring Yard. Tidal Tempest, it's like Labyrinth Zone. Metallic Madness, it's like Scrap Brain Zone, and so on and so forth. There's still a lot of unique stuff that the levels bring to the table to keep them from feeling too similar to Sonic 1, but let's talk about time travel. To travel through time, Sonic must hit a sign that says past or future. Doing so won't automatically bring you to your selected time period, however. It's up to you to keep a consistent running speed for about 6 seconds or so in order to hit up the past or go to the future. This is a very interesting part of the game because you need to be creative about keeping that consistent speed up. You have to carefully plan out routes where Sonic won't stop so you can time travel. Or sometimes the game will put 2 springs next to each other and that works too. Even then, there are tons of objects that will keep your momentum going so you don't have to think about planning out routes. Which is a little lame, but it's still a pretty cool gimmick. It feels like an extension on the classic Sonic philosophy of speed being a reward for playing good. In this case, you get to travel to the past or the future for being good at playing Sonic. So, you gotta go to the past and destroy the generators, but some of these things are a little tricky to find. That's what I love about this game. It doesn't feel linear at all. A lot of these levels feel like open playgrounds to just mess around with Sonic's speed, and even gives you the freedom to tackle challenges in multiple ways sometimes. There's no 2 playthroughs that ever feel the same because I'm always experimenting with the gameplay. This is also emphasized with Sonic's new move, the Super Peel Out. Hold up and press any button to charge it up like a spin dash, and he'll be sent out at top speed. This move does leave him vulnerable, however, so you do have to watch out for enemies. The spin dash is also included here, which Sega of Japan originally tacked on after hearing about it in Sonic 2. It was terrible in the original version, but in Whitehead's port of the game, it works like any other spin dash ought to. Both moves are incredibly useful for certain moments of the game, and I really do appreciate the variety even if they're kind of similar in execution. These levels can also be quite big sometimes, but a clever detail they added to avoid backtracking is found within the badniks. Usually Eggman traps small animals inside the robots, but this time they're flower seeds instead, which will instantly grow as soon as they hit the ground. These flowers almost act like breadcrumbs to the player, a non-direct indication of where you've already searched. Also in the past, you can find these Metal Sonic holograms that are used to scare animals away. Once destroyed, the animals will no longer fear the cold, menacing machine and will begin to populate the zone. They're not necessary to destroy for the perfect ending, but you do get an achievement for doing so. But what about the levels you'll be traversing? Are they any fun? Well, for the most part, yeah. Palmtree Panic is a great starting level. Everyone's already said this, but yeah, it's pretty much Green Hill on steroids. A fun jungle gym that helps you get acquainted with Sonic's controls. Not to mention a great intro to time traveling. But the funny thing is, it ends with the least intimidating boss battle of all time. Collision Chaos is also very fun with a ton of memorable set pieces that take advantage of Sonic's physics, even if it does have its moments. Overall, I really like this level, and the boss too. It's essentially a pinball minigame which can either take 2 seconds or 2 minutes depending on how good you are. Tidal Tempest might be my favorite water level in any Sonic game. It's a pretty standard level all things considered, but I've always had fun exploring this one, even if the water bubbles can sometimes screw me over. Like, what the hell was that? Sometimes the water currents can be a bit of a hassle too, but otherwise, I like this level, thumbs up. The boss is kind of weird though. Quartz Quadrant uses these conveyor belts that you can change the direction of, and is probably my favorite in terms of making time travel routes. There's tons of exploration to do in this level with so many alternative paths you can take. This is easily one of my favorite stages in the game. The boss is kind of funny though, being a treadmill that slowly shreds down Eggman's, base thing, cockpit? I don't know. Wacky Workbench is a pretty interesting case. Part of me wants to hate this level, but to be honest, it's kind of fun. The whole ground is made of this electrical thing that bounces Sonic upwards every time you touch it. It's nearly impossible to make routes for time travel, so you'll have to rely on a lot of automated set pieces to do the work for you. Also, the way you find one of the generators is really weird. You have to stand in one of these crushers, which any reasonable person would assume would kill you, but no, it just sends Sonic down a pipe and then there's the generator. It's a little questionable. The boss here is probably one of the less memorable ones, but I don't mind it all too much. But Stardust Speedway is an icon. A lot of it is navigating through these tubes at high velocity with not much control. But it's really satisfying. This is one of the rare levels that just lets you go fast instead of having speed being a reward. It's not a very difficult level, but it is fun. Tons of memorable set pieces, some really funky music, and of course, the Metal Sonic race. Now this is one of the coolest Sonic characters of all time. Sonic's had his rivals like Knuckles, Shadow, Blaze, Silver, but this is the quintessential rival of the franchise. The others always end up turning on his side, more than likely due to a misunderstanding. But Metal? Nope. He just wants Sonic dead on sight. He's a perfect recreation of the Hedgehog, and is one of Eggman's finest pieces of work. But despite him being a replica of Sonic, he's the complete opposite in design. Sonic represents nature, the thing he's been fighting for this entire time, while Metal Sonic represents machinery. Sonic's speed is also natural through his running, but Metal Sonic has to use an engine in order to speed up. He's a cold machine looking to further the Eggman Empire, at least in this game. He's just so damn cool. I mean, look at those glaring red eyes. They are the epitome of menacing. And those sharp claws and the cool metallic sheen of it all, like, it's peak design. So cool, in fact, that for years I really wanted to get this statue of him. The first 4 figures classic Metal Sonic piece. Now, these were made in limited quantities way back in 2011, so getting my hands on him was gonna be kinda tough. But last year, I found him for a reasonable enough price, don't you dare ask me. And now he sits in my collection being one of my favorite pieces of all time. I mean, just look at him, he's so cool, it's Metal Sonic. I digress. The boss itself can be quite tough the first time you're doing it, but isn't so bad on repeat playthroughs. You gotta go fast enough so you can beat him in the race, but also go slow at points to avoid these attacks he does in order to catch up. But not too slow, otherwise Eggman will kill you with an insta-death laser. Easily my favorite boss fight in the game, which isn't a high bar admittedly, but hey! Metallic Madness is a solid final level, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't give me a massive headache at times. It's really good for putting your platforming skills to the test, but the generator in Act 2 is so damn easy to miss. You have to go in a specific tube in a specific direction and do this one specific jump, and if you mess up, oh well, gotta start all over. I'm just not really a big fan of Act 2 in general. It feels far too linear for the game it's trying to be in, and there's not a whole lot of variety in how to tackle this one compared to other stages, which I find to be a bit underwhelming. At least it gave us Mini Sonic. He's pretty cute. And the final boss? What is this fidget spinner looking ass gizmo you're wielding, Eggman? Not difficult in the slightest, it's over before you know it, boom, the game ends. But overall, I think the stages of Sonic CD are really good. But what makes them especially memorable to me is the game's presentation. Artistically speaking, this is my favorite Sonic game. Well, also Sonic Adventure, but this is the Sonic CD video. Everything is so vibrant and detailed. These dreamlike landscapes you traverse through are so wacky and weird, but they change a lot depending on what time period you're in. Some of them look radically different, like Wacky Workbench. You get to see the factory at an earlier incomplete state, revealing canyons in the background you would have never known were there. And Quartz Quadrant with the green water thing and the ice shards is just damn, it's so pretty. I've heard a lot of people complain that there's too much going on, not knowing what's in the background or foreground, but I personally never really had that issue. Sometimes I was unsure if I can walk in certain areas that look to be platforms, but immediately it becomes obvious what is or isn't interactable. And it's not like you get punished too hard for not knowing the difference. But oh my gosh, I love the future aesthetics. Like I mentioned, the future changes depending on whether or not you destroyed the generators. And this is why CD is my favorite Sonic game artistically. The good futures are euphoric paradises, merging the beautiful landscapes with technology to aid the zone. Sonic's always been a series about nature versus technology, so seeing a showcase of technology being used to help the environment is really cool. But failing to destroy the generators will leave the zone as a desolate wasteland, overrun by Eggman's technology, completely destroying all life in the area. It's such a gut punch seeing some of these zones being corrupted by Eggman, but for me, it highly emphasizes one of the core themes of the Sonic franchise, that being nature versus technology. And this is all told purely through visuals. It's just so beautiful seeing how the world changes based on your actions. And getting those good futures is the most rewarding thing of all time. Now, all of that is really cool, but the experience is only amplified tenfold by the incredible soundtrack. Seriously, this is one of my favorite game soundtracks of all time. It's all inspired by 90s Eurodance, pop, funk kind of type stuff with some jazz, and it all just culminates into one of the greatest audible experiences in Sonic history. And it also perfectly encapsulates whatever stage you're in. Present, past, good future, bad future, it's also fantastically portrayed through music. And some of these stages are it's just Sonic incarnate in music form, like take a listen. Those good future tracks in particular just feel like pure hope and optimism put into decibels, and it's so good. And Eggman's boss theme is glorious. It sounds like something he would listen to before fighting Sonic just to pump himself up before battle. It's hard to decide if this game or Adventure 2 has my favorite Eggman theme. Or even Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog if we want to go there. But for some reason, the US got an entirely different soundtrack consisting of more ambient tunes. And you know what? They're also pretty good. But to me, they just don't hold a candle to the PAL/Japan version of the OST. I will be honest though, the boss theme from the US version is pretty scary and kept me up more nights than I'd like to admit as a kid. And that's not even mentioning the terrifying game over music. Did Sonic go to hell? This was the scariest shit when I was a kid. It was scarier than Slender Man and Five Nights at Freddy's combined, bro. Like, that's how scary it was. Although the past themes are the same no matter what version you're playing. But they're all based on the original version's melodies, so playing with the US soundtrack is pretty jarring. Also, they're MIDI-based, which I find to be rather fitting considering you're going to the past. And then there's the special stages. Admittedly, I don't have a whole lot to say about these. You basically gotta destroy all these UFOs in a small arena and avoid obstacles along the way. Sonic turns really slowly, but once you get the hang of it, it's not all too difficult. Sometimes. I mean, I couldn't get the 7th time stone, so... I really do love these Earthbound-esque backdrops they have. And the music is amazing on both versions of the OST. Probably an A-tier special stage as far as things go. And well, that's Sonic CD for ya. Every playthrough I've ever had has always felt different from the last. Sometimes I struggle with this game, while other times it's a breeze. But due to its artistic merits and unconventional level design, I can't help but call this my favorite classic Sonic game. Don't get me wrong, the trilogy and Mania are fantastic, but this one just resonates with me more. I adore the setting, I adore the art, the music is fantastic, the little bits of characterization Sonic gets is amazing. While I probably wouldn't recommend this game to any newcomers of the franchise, given how unique Sonic's controls are, I still think it's a game that's absolutely worth your time. It just feels like there's so much more I can do with Sonic and his physics in this particular game compared to other entries in the classic series, which has linear challenges, opposed to the more open stages of CD. This game is one of a kind, doing its own thing, not worrying about what other people think. And isn't that what Sonic is all about?